Well, hey everyone, welcome to Church Tech.Life. My name is Michael and this is Phil. This is a podcast for tech guys. I want to welcome you to the channel today. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm slowly gaining all the weight that you're losing. So you're just pushing it right to me.
Well, people will ask me from time to time, am I losing weight? And I'm like, no, I keep it in my closet.
Well, careful. Christmas is coming up soon. You'll just gain it right back.
At least I know where to find it.
That's right. All right, we have an exciting show today. Phil walked through a portable setup in one of his classrooms. But before we get to that, we like to start our podcast with a Bible verse. Phil, hit us with it. What do we got?
All right, we're going to do Psalm 51, verse 10. It says, "Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me." Isn't that a great prayer?
Oh, I'm all over it, man. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. So, Phil, kind of walk us through what we did this week. Walk us through what you did, and then we'll watch the video as well.
All right, so kind of in our conversations and stuff that you and I have done, we've kind of talked about like my setup at the church that I have here in Lynchburg, and then we've gone through our third podcast was going through your setup there in Albuquerque. So what we wanted to do this week was kind of talk about maybe smaller systems that we would use for portable use or systems that we would use for other rooms outside of our worship center. What does that look like? How do we set that up? What's our thinking process as we design those, as we try to build those, and we try to get that equipment purchased and honestly designed and put together. So that's kind of the focus of this month's podcast is designing a portable system that we can use not only in our church buildings, but also for, like, for example, we got a men's retreat coming up this coming weekend, which is crazy. And my portable system is going to be leaving the church, heading out to do that event. So what does all that stuff look like?
Cool. Let's check it out.
Hey everybody, just kind of wanted to take a minute and talk our way through what a portable setup looks like for not only churches, but also people that are just doing portable setups and teardowns. Kind of what is my thought process as I'm doing a portable setup? How do I set up when I'm buying the equipment? Kind of what do I think? And then how do I organize it all once I get it? So right now we're in our choir room that's here at the church, and we've got an event coming up on Wednesday night this week. And so we're setting up a portable system. But on top of that, I've also got another event that's going to be taking place across the church in a different spot later on in the week. And then we also have a men's conference that's going out of town that's going to be taking this system with them on top of a couple of other things as well. What does it look like for portable setups, portable churches that are having to roll in real fast and do stuff? How you can have a lot of flexibility and still keep things kind of compact. So I want to show you ways that we went through, and we have a lot of flexibility, a lot of options with what we're doing. All right, so on the X32, we have a couple of things going here that kind of help me out and give me some flexibility. One of the things that we have are the stage boxes. So I'm able to set this up. Right now I've got it set up just off to the stage right side of the stage for our worship night coming up. But I am able to go all the way to the back of the room if I wanted to, and then all I have to do is just run one Cat 6 line up here and plug in from my AES 50 all the way up to my stage box, and then I can daisy chain those over to get to my AES 50B if I want to. So that allows me to expand all the way out to a total of 16 channels in and 8 channels out. Now, having said that, what we also have is we've got right back here is a Dante card. That Dante card gives me the ability to get onto the Dante network. So not only do I have the ability to input through the AES, but also have the ability to output on Dante to get it. So if I'm going to set up, and let's say we're going to do something in one room as an overflow, and we want to have a band in that room or something, but we want to join the Lives auditorium or something back into our worship center, then all I have to do is just I can run a signal from the auditorium directly to my console, just link it in with Dante, and then I've got 2 channels on Dante right there for my live auditorium. So whenever our pastor gets up to speak or something, I've got those channels right there. But I can also output my channels. If I've got somebody presenting in one room and I want to show it in a different spot, I can run AES 50 here to my stage box, get all my inputs in, have them do what they're going to do up there, have the speaker stand live on the stage, and then I can have physical outputs in the room that I'm in going into the speakers, but I can also output onto Dante from this console and take that to another spot that's connected on the Dante network as well. And now I've got coverage across the entire campus or into multiple rooms using Dante across it. So this is a way to give us a lot of different options all the way across. The other thing that I do is I get these real small routers, and I've got one that's right down here. I put it right inside the legs of the keyboard stand. And that allows me to walk with that router and be able to plug in with my iPad or connect with my iPad, and I can do controls. So when we actually do this worship service, I might not even be sitting up here for the worship service. I might walk to the back side of the room or get to another spot and then actually mix the service off my iPad with the soundboard up here. But because this is kind of a small room and we're going to pack this out, I'm kind of keeping my front of house position up here on the stage so that I can kind of be able to utilize as much seating as we can all the way across. This position right here will actually be our ProPresenter position. We've got a TV that's in here. So this person that will be here will actually be running slides for our worship service as we have it.
All right, well, that was a lot. So let's kind of walk through that a little bit. So you got a couple different protocols going into the X32, huh?
Yeah, so this gives me the ability, like I said in the video, to have the ultimate kind of flexibility so that we can get signal not only locally inside of one room, but we can also get it onto our Dante network and patch it or basically just run it all over our campus if need be.
Gotcha. So okay, so you have channels coming in from your worship center, and you want to show them, or excuse me, you want to play them in that room, and so you have a Dante network already set up in your worship center, and you want to pump some Dante lines into your into that room. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So here's another good example of this. So during COVID, the church had this overflow area, and it's this giant room that we call the International Plaza. We actually call it an IP for short. So in this International Plaza, the IP, they actually set a stage up out there, and they moved their singers out onto our background vocalists out onto that stage with the instrumentalists inside the auditorium. So having this type of a setup gives you the ability to run what's going on in the auditorium into the X32, get that pushed out into the IP, have those vocalists, have all those microphones come back into the X32, and then mix all of that together so that you're hearing those singers not only in the IP, the International Plaza, but you're also getting that into the worship center. So having a Dante card inside of these consoles gives you a lot of flexibility to do a lot of things all across your environment.
And what's cool is it's only just a Cat 5 or Cat 6 going straight in their console, and that's all the channels you need coming from your main worship center. And then you've got AES, what was it? It was a stagebox. Talk about that a little bit.
So it's AES 50, and it gives me the ability to plug a proprietary box into the Behringer X32. I'm actually using a compact in this case. So this stage box gives me 8 inputs in and 8 inputs out, which is really kind of a good thing. It also gives me a combo jack on it as well. So I think I've got some B-roll of that we can put up right at this point as well. But that gives me the ability to plug not only an XLR into the stage box, but I can plug a 1/4 inch in right into that same stage box, and I don't need a DI. So it kind of helps me with signal flow and just management of cabling, cable management on stage and everything else, because I have a whole lot less equipment that I need on stage. I don't need DIs. I don't need extra XLRs. All I need is just a 1/4 inch to go from source all the way down into that stage box. Now, they give you the ability to daisy chain. I believe it's up to 3 of these boxes together. So that gives you a total of 24 inputs and only 16 outputs, because that's the limitation of the console. Some of the other boxes, you've got it in different flavors. You've got our flavor right now. We've got the Behringer, I think it's an S8, a SAM8, and that gives you the ability to have 8 in, 8 outs. They also have the S16, which gives you 16 ins and I believe 8 outs as well. It might give you 16 out. I'm not positive on that one. But So you can take an S16 and an S8 and put those together to equal the 24, and you can do it that. But if you take two of those together and you try to do an S16 and an S16, you're not going to be able to do it, unfortunately, on these consoles, because you can't daisy chain that much together. So there are some limitations in this, but the limitations are very easy to overcome quickly.
Yeah, what's cool is that sets you up for a easy and fast setup time, because all you've got is your console, and then you have your Cat 6 line running from your console to your stage box, and then you can daisy chain from there. And so instead of running a huge snake with 16 channels coming from your snake, you just have one line. And that's just for AES, and then whatever you have coming in for Dante, that's just on top of that, right?
Oh, yeah. Because with the Behringer, I believe I have 48 channels of Dante coming in on that card as well. So I've got 48 in, 48 out, but the board limitation is going to limit me to 32 and then 16. So I know it's a ton of numbers. You almost have to take off your shoes to count everything. But knowing what those limitations are, but still opening yourself up so that you have the capabilities is a good thing. So one of the other things to note whenever you're dealing with the cabling, Cat 7 is the best to use, but make sure that it is shielded as well. So if you're going to be buying that cable, just make sure that you buy shielded cable, because those boxes have a very difficult time, and you can have a lot of issues really quickly if you're not using shielded Cat 6 or Cat 7 cable.
Sure. Okay. And then talk about the router. So I know a lot of consoles, you can just connect it to the network. It has its own Wi-Fi network on board, but you need a router on top of the X32, huh?
Yeah, with this I do. So I'm not aware of any of the Behringer X series consoles, not even the Midas, having a built-in router. If I'm wrong on that, put it in the comments and tell me. But I'm unaware of them having any type of a built-in Wi-Fi router off of it. So I just buy these little small ones that I get off of Amazon. They're really inexpensive. They're real small. They've got two LAN connections coming directly into them. So I can get two things connected to them via a wired connection. So coming right out of the back of the Behringer, there's a little control network cable, network jack, and I just plug that right into the router. And then if I want to plug in my computer, I can do that. But the way that I've got mine hooked up, I actually go through my Dante card. So it allows me to put my Dante card directly on this. So I actually come out of that little router switch directly into my Dante card, and Dante has two lines on it. It's got a primary and a secondary, but inside the software you can turn the secondary into basically like a pass-through or an extender. So I just route coming right off the back of that secondary, and I run that right into the console for control. And that way I get my Dante card in there, I get my control card, control everything from an iPad, and then if I want to get onto the Dante network, I can just connect that right in.
Yeah, and what's cool is then you can put that off to the side, put your old console to the side, and then mix on an iPad out in the audience. So that way, if your mixer is in an inconvenient place, you can just take your iPad and mix in the most convenient place for you.
Or even if you're just trying to do monitors. Sometimes your singer will say, if you've got wedges down there, you've got the unfortunate realization of having monitors at your feet. You can always take your iPad up there and hear what your singer or what your musician is hearing whenever they're complaining about something not being right in the mix. You can actually hear, stand in front of it, know what's going on, and be able to fix it directly from there. What the other really good thing is what you just alluded to, and that's just being able to get things out of the way so that you can provide enough seating and enough area. Because, in churches, we run out of room really quick on special events. So one of the rooms that I've got right now for our youth room, our console is not located in a very good position at all. It is in a balcony with no speakers pointed at it, and it's not behind glass, but it's behind kind of a drywall type thing that's got a hole cut out in it. It's just, it's horrible for a mixed position. So we mix our youth, our senior high service, from an iPad down on the floor every single week. If we have any issues, we just run upstairs real fast, fix whatever we need to that we do right there on the console. But that's extremely rare that we ever have to go upstairs. Yeah,
I guess that's a good point to say. If you're building a new worship center, or if you're just considering moving your tech booth, make sure that your tech booth is, if you're going to build it in a place where you can actually hear the sound that the congregation is hearing. Don't put it in a balcony. Don't put it against a back wall. Don't put it backstage, Actually put it within the room. All right, cool. Yeah, Phil, let's look at the rest of the video. See what we got.
Okay, now I want to show you some stuff on the stagebox side. One of the good things about this stagebox is they've got these little combo jacks on them for XLR and 1/4 inch. So as you can tell right here, I've got an XLR jack and it just plugs right into that channel number 1. But over here, this is actually my bass guitar and it is a 1/4 inch and that just plugs right into the combo jack. Now the good thing on that is I don't need a DI. I'm just going to run that directly. Like this is my acoustic guitar, so I'm just going to run that directly out, plug that right into the guitar, and we're good to go. I also have this little case that we honestly just had laying around the church. So let me back off of it just a little bit. And I just went through and I rack mounted some wireless microphones into it. So these are our wireless systems. You can see like right there, that guy, that is an antenna combiner. So the top 2 is a lav mic, and then you've got a handheld number 2, and then these bottom 2 that are down right here, these 2 Shure ones, that's my handheld number 3 and handheld number 4. And then underneath that is a drawer, so you can see the drawer that's right there. On top, at the very, very top, which I know I'm out of order a little bit, but right there's a little power conditioner. It's a Pyle. I'm not a big fan of a lot of Pyle stuff, but it gets the job done for us. It's a little power conditioner. It's got 3 Edison courtesy outlets on the front, and it's got some USB charging stuff. Those are 2 amp, 5 volt. So they'll charge up your cell phone or whatever else you have laying around right there. If you've got some iPads or something, you need to get those charged up. They'll charge up, but they are USB-A. And it is a 15 amp system. So just kind of keep that in mind, but I've really enjoyed this. I'm not running anywhere near 15 amps with it. I've got that entire rig plugged into it for power, plus the stage box sitting on top of it. And honestly, I'm also running a little surge protector right here, a little power strip. I've got my little router plugged into it, and then I've also got my X32 compact plugged into it as well. And we'll also wind up plugging a computer into that same little power strip down there. So, and we have never had an issue coming anywhere near the 15 amps. So good little system to have. It's good to have it in a portable rack like this so that I can just kind of get pushed around. It's always hard to get power, and this way I just unplug one thing and plug it right into a wall and I'm good to go. If you've got these little racks, they're good. You can always find them on Facebook Marketplace. You can find them on eBay real cheap, used. If you don't have one, I'd highly recommend picking up a couple of them. The other thing that I'm using are these little XLR to basically a Cat 6 or a network adapter. Here are the 2 XLRs. So I'm going to show you, these are just little male XLRs that are on this side, and on the other side are the female XLRs. So they go down into this box, and then those 2 boxes are connected via this Cat 5, or actually a Cat 6 right there. It's a shielded Cat 6, and it connects over to that other side of the box. Now those go down, and the females go and connect into each one of these little microphones that are down in here. So they go and they connect into these microphone receivers that are right here. So 1, 2, the 3, and then 4. So that's the way that I connect these. That way, this box does not have to be with my stage box. I can separate those, and I don't have to buy a giant snake or anything to tie this stuff together. All I have to do, I take this and I throw it inside that little shelf, inside the little drawer right there. So it lives inside of there. And then if I want this to be on the side of the stage and I want this to be like upstage close to my instruments, I just connect that via Cat 6 over to the box, and then that gets us what we need. So it just gives us some flexibility. It gives us some options. This is not a digital connection. This is an analog connection. What makes this cable different is it's also shielded. So you can kind of see that metal end. It's kind of metallic right there. That's the shielding that goes through it. Now the problem with that is if you're using phantom power, that can create or introduce some noise into the system. So if you are using this and you have microphones that require phantom power and you're hearing a buzzing, you're hearing some noise, you might need to just go ahead and pull the phantom power off of that one or run that cable direct or something to get it off of this, because whenever it shears the ground, it does some weird things. Whenever I'm not sharing phantom power across, whatever, I don't have to do that. then this has been very solid for me, and I've really enjoyed using them. They're quick, they're easy to set up. I don't have to climb back behind there and try to plug in XLRs and get them, plugged in and out all the time. All I do is these boxes, wrap the boxes up, and then get them in there. So the back box stays connected all the time. That one, it stays connected all the time. All I have to do is just disconnect the Cat 6 line from it. This one gets disconnected. I disconnect the Cat 6 and I throw the whole thing down inside of this drawer, and that just gives me some flexibility for it.
All right, well, that's pretty cool. I do want to ask you about your thought process for this whole system, though. Kind of walk through what you were thinking as you were setting it up, because it was clearly very intentional. So talk about that real quick.
Diving into the depths of my mind is a very deep and dark place.
That's okay. I'll bring a flashlight.
And push away the cobwebs.
That's right.
No, so number one, we want a lot of flexibility. I don't want to have to go to somebody and say, sorry, if I would have known, then I could have done this. I want to build in as much flexibility as I can while staying within our budget and our budgetary restrictions. Because obviously everybody knows budget is always an issue. So my thinking process in this is, how can I get the most flexibility, staying within budget, and then be able to make sure that whenever somebody comes to me at the last minute, I'm not struggling to try to make something work kind of haphazardly as opposed to intentionally. So that's kind of my thinking process as I go through this. How can I do this quickly? How can I do this in a way, especially in a church environment, where I can teach volunteers sometimes on the fly? Sometimes you'll get the email on Saturday that says, hey, I want to volunteer with your tech ministry, and I'm going to show up Sunday morning. How can I help you? And you've got to be able to teach them how to do it while you're getting set up. And some people are doing portable church. So you got to teach them while you're getting set up to get ready for a service, while your band's standing around waiting for you to get set up to get ready for a service so they can rehearse.
Cool. Yeah, that's smart. It's good to have some context. All right. So you talked about how you can daisy chain a couple of the stage boxes. This one looks like it stays on that rack, but where would you put some other stage boxes if you had multiple instrumentalists or different things to plug in throughout your stage? Where would you put them?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. Now, for our instance, I've got 2 of these S8s. I'm literally just putting them close to instruments where it makes sense. So for today, I've got one that's placed on top of my microphone rack because I've got the mics right inside that for the wireless mics. So I can just get that connected real fast. What you didn't really see was kind of the stage setup. I mean, I turned the camera around to show the acoustic, but my bass guitar is just right over to the other side over there. I got a cajon that's literally right there next to the stage box. You can kind of see it in the picture sometimes. You can see the boom mic on the back side of it, mic in that cajon. And then I've got that acoustic guitar that's right out there. So the stage box placement just kind of made sense for our application for this event. Now, the other event that's going to be taking place coming up this weekend, the stage boxes, one of them I'm going to put by the drum set because we're going to have multiple inputs coming into it, but I'm also going to have a bass guitar that's located right there by the drum set. So the inputs will go right there, bass guitar will plug right in, and then I'm going to take another stage box and put it close to our keyboardist so we can get that plugged in. That's where the wireless mics are going to live at as well. And then my acoustic guitar is going to plug right back in over to that. So I took a look at my stage plot and I kind of said what makes sense and how does all this make sense, and then started kind of building it off of my stage plot of where everything was going to be and how I could get power to it. That's another real big key whenever you start dealing with what you're doing on stage. You're always worried about how are you going to run signal so that you make sure that your stage looks good, but also how are you getting power to the stuff that you need power. Because my bass guitarist, they've got an active DI that they're going to be wanting to use for this event coming up this weekend. Plus, they've got a tuner. My acoustic guitar player, they've got a DI, plus they have a tuner. So I've got to get power not only to my stage box, but I also have to get power rolled out onto the stage for all of my other instruments. Plus, I don't know why, but keyboards always, they want you to have power run into a keyboard as well. So
I see. So instead of having super long XLR cables, microphone cables that come out of your drums and then running them all the way across the stage, all 4, 5, 6, 10 microphone lines going back to your stage box, you actually place one of the S8s close by so you can plug directly in. That's really smart. And then we'll talk about power real quick. So does that power come from the rack, or do you do something else?
So I'm going to honestly just run for this weekend because everything's so low powered and low voltage. I'm just going to run everything directly off that one Pyle power conditioner that you saw right there. I've also got an iPad that's going to be plugged in. They're going to be running Main Stage or using Main Stage for their keyboard. So we're just going to run the power for the iPad right off that that power conditioner as well. I know a lot of churches use iPads. That little Pyle's got those USBs right on the front of it. So it gives you the ability to kind of plug that in. So that was one of the things in my thinking process as well of how can I provide that? Because, you might run a rehearsal on Wednesday night. Well, then, somebody might be down on power for their iPad or whatever. So this just gives you the ability to be able to plug that in and kind of be a hero at the last second whenever you need something that goes on, or, even just kind of refresh that stuff. So, but where does that plug in? That's the other key that you've got to ask yourself. So I don't have to plug everything into that. If my keyboard, if it makes more sense to plug it into like a floor box or something right there where the keyboard is, then maybe I plug it directly into that floor box instead of going through that power conditioner. But I am looking for a place to plug in that power conditioner. Maybe it's the back wall and I just run one extension cord from the back wall directly to it. I just try to make sure that I don't have very many trip hazards on stage. So that's the other thing that I kind of keep in mind in a stage setup.
Sure. Okay. Since that rack is on the stage, do you have your speakers, your audience speakers, are they close by to the stage, and then you run signal from an S8 to that, or how does your speakers get a signal?
Sure. So for this event that we're doing, this is where, again, we go into flexibility and portability. For the event that we're doing this weekend, for the event that we're doing this Wednesday, I've got a Bose system. I think it's an L1 system that's just a little subwoofer, and it sits on a stick, and it just kind of provides all the power, all the sound that I need for that little room that I'm in for that setup that you saw in the video. For the weekend coming up, we're actually going to be running into a speaker system that's set up by the convention center there, or actually the campgrounds that's there. So coming out of the back of the X32, there's some analog outputs there. We're just going to come off of 7 and 8, run that directly over, plug into either their console or plug directly into their XLR jacks, and then we will run off of the speakers that they have there set up for the camp.
Gotcha. So you're not limiting yourself to only coming off the board or only doing S8. You want to plan for flexibility whenever you use the system because it's not going to be used in the same room every single time. That makes sense.
Right. Yeah, and so 7 and 8 on so 1 through 8 on my on the back of my console mirrors the 1 through 8 that is on that first stage box. And like I said, I got 2 stage boxes. So the other stage box, the 9 through 16, that's actually going to house all of my IEMs coming out of that. So I've got all of those plugged in. We're going to be running 4 channels of IEM stereo. So that gives me all 8 channels right there for all the monitors they need.
Gotcha. Going back to the speaker real quick, you said it's a Bose. You said it was a stick with a subwoofer on it. Walk through that real quick.
And I'll be honest with you. Whenever I first started talking about this Bose system, I was really, really leery of it. I was kind of concerned because there's kind of a standard or a saying out in the industry, and it is one of 2 ways. It's either all highs, no lows, it must be Bose, or no highs, no lows, it must be Bose. So it depends on which side you come from on that. So when we started talking about doing this, I was really leery of it. And then I started talking around and talking with some people that had used it, talking with some vendors. And I got one in as a demo, and we were pleasantly blown away. This one goes into our choir, but our choir room so that they can use it for whenever they're rehearsing for our Sunday morning stuff. It's Bluetooth, so it's got a Bluetooth input on it. So my worship pastor can stand up there, connect his computer directly to it. He's got the Bluetooth going right into the speaker, back it up, rewind it, do whatever he needs to off the computer, and it plays. It's plenty loud enough for that entire room. But we've also used it in a lot of other rooms as well. We've got several other venues where we just kind of pack that thing up, take it with us. In fact, We had one of our staff people now got married recently, probably about a year ago. And we took that little Bose system out and used it as background music for the reception. And the reception hall was pretty large as well. So, and it fired off and played that very well. Now, because I am who I am, I think we're going to wind up buying another one probably soon. So, because we have utilized this thing so much, so often, and we really like it, I kind of want one in stereo.
Cool, man. That's smart. It's good to know that someone else has used it, and you can take a first-hand account of saying, yeah, this thing is great, and you won't regret buying it. Because you're right, Bose really doesn't have a huge presence in the professional market. A lot of home use things, a lot of like home, like Alexa type things, but nothing really huge in the professional market. So that's awesome. And what's cool is the price is comparable to, a passive system or even a really good active system. So that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I like it. It gives you 2 XLR inputs and then the 1 Bluetooth input, but it also gives you a daisy chain XLR output as well on the back side of it. So you can daisy chain them together if you want to do mono, or you can just go ahead and run it the way I'm going to do it, and I'll have it in stereo.
Okay, and then the XLR Ethernet boxes, the XLR over Ethernet, what are those about?
So it's an interesting thing. They are analog. They're not digital. So you can't plug these into like a digital network and send it across campus or something like that. They are very, very analog. They work just off the cabling that's built inside of a Cat 6, Cat 7 shielded cable. You really do need to use shielded on that as well. So what they do is they just allow you to have an extension of 4 XLRs just running off of one Cat 6, Cat 7 cable. So that way you don't, it's all about cleaning the stage, making sure things look good, make sure that things, don't have a big footprint, all that type of stuff. So, if you've got a keyboard and that keyboard is like 4 channels going into it, one of these little boxes would be great. And then you're just running one Cat 5 line or a Cat 6 line all the way back to your stage box or someplace else. So it just helps cut down on the amount of cabling that's around. But also, if you've got like a stage and you only have like a couple of microphones up there, then and you're running like an analog console in the back of the room or something, man, you could take one of these things, a long 100 foot, or you're limited to 100 meters, so that's 333 feet. So you could take one long cable and just run that one long cable all the way up there, covering 4 inputs. They call them gender benders. Also, you can take an adapter and plug it onto it, and it turns it turns an XLR male into an XLR female by having an XLR female to female, and then on the other side you can do the same thing, male to male. So you plug it into that. So what I've also done on these things, where I just needed 2 microphones and then to get out stereo into 2 speakers, I ran one of these things. I had 2 microphones wired in, and then I just put a gender bender on 3 and 4, and then I ran those out to a couple of powered speakers. So I did an entire setup, 2 microphones, 2 speakers, and I only had to run one Cat 6 cable, 50 feet or so. So it just saved me from having to run 4 cables, get them along, and all that type of stuff. So all about time, easiness, convenience, especially on a permanent install. If you can, well, I say permanent, especially on a permanent setup install, where, some people are doing portable church and that type of stuff. Having stuff where you can just connect a Cat 5, Cat 6, Cat 7 cable real fast between things, whole lot easier than trying to look at an XLR to figure out where to plug it in and how to plug it in. But if you can take some of these boxes, put them into a rack where all you have to do is just plug those in real fast, label them out, get them going across, you're going to make your volunteers a whole lot happier with you as you're trying to do portable setup. And you're also going to make your life a lot easier whenever you're doing your setup to try to make all that stuff work right.
Yeah, what's cool is with it being analog, you don't have to deal with any Dante or any switching or anything like that. It's just those lines going straight in. That's awesome. All right, well, that was short and sweet. I'm happy. I mean, it's not an hour long. This is like a small, hopefully helpful video for you. All right, and I want to invite you back next month for when we post again. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. It really helps out the channel. And we just love seeing you guys comment and, ask us questions in the video. So be sure to do that. All right. I'm Michael. Phil, do you have anything to say at the end?
Yeah, I would just like to say, if you've got questions, don't hesitate to put them down in the comments. This is what we do. I'd love to help walk you through some stuff. If you got something that's very specific, just write it down in the comments, and maybe we can help provide some answers for you. That's what we're here for. That's what we're trying to do, and that's what we're trying to be about, is to just give some resources out to this community. So,
Cool. All right, I'll see you guys in a month. Take care.
have a good one.